you're applying to your Master of Social Work, you probably know how important the personal statement is in your overall application. It's also usually the most daunting part of the application process. Most people don't know how to write a personal statement that stands out, and as a result, they struggle to showcase their skills, strengths, and potential in a really effective way. So in today's video, we are going to be discussing best practices when writing your personal statement and how to brainstorm and get started on the process of writing a personal statement that does stand out. So first things first, let's talk about what schools of social work are actually looking for. Most schools of social work will ask applicants about their experiences, which comes from both their personal and professional experiences, their motivation for becoming a social worker and their goals, as well as a social justice issue and how social workers can go about solving that social justice issue. Um, so that's generally what most schools ask about. Sometimes schools will also add in things about like ethics and alignment with the program, about weaknesses, and they have like other prompts that they do ask. But I find that the vast majority of schools are asking about your experience, your goals, and a social justice issue. So that's what we are going to be focusing on in today's video. So the first thing that I encourage you to think about as you're brainstorming your personal statement is the concept of creating cohesion. I often see applicants get a little bit discombobulated in their answers, and they will be all over the place when answering the prompts. So for example, they might talk about their experience in child welfare, and then they talk about their goal, which is to work in like gerontology, and then their social justice issue has to do with like something that is not related to any of those areas. And what this does is it creates some confusion for the reader about like what your motivations are and what your goals are. And it kind of misses an opportunity to show that there is a need for social workers in your area of interest. So, for example, let's say you've been working in child welfare and your goal is to become a master's level social worker so that you can support your clients in a different way. You should be talking about a social justice issue that has to do with child welfare, and even better, something that has to do with a gap that you hope to fill at the master's level. This shows the admissions committee that there is a need for social workers in your area of interest. And because you have the experience and that's your goal, like it's almost a no-brainer for the admissions committee to accept you to the program because you are going to be filling that gap. So the first thing that I recommend doing when you are starting to put together your personal statement is to list out all of your ideas and your experiences and really get everything down on paper. And what you want to do is really think about some of the insights or the things that you have learned from those experiences rather than just talking about like the skills and roles. The first thing I recommend doing is starting by listing out all of your experiences. And this can come from your personal experiences, professional, work, volunteer, placement, really anything goes when it comes to discussing your experiences that motivated you to pursue social work. And where a lot of people get lost is they will start talking about their roles and responsibilities rather than talking about why those experiences motivated them to become a social worker. So you really want to get focused and clear about what you want to talk about and what insights you gained from those experiences. So, for example, maybe you've been working in the field as a social worker for the last couple of years, and in your role, you noticed a gap in services that your clients were experiencing, and you felt limited in your role to support them in a greater capacity because of the limits of your education and your qualifications. So by pursuing a Master of Social Work, you hope to gain the skills needed to like step into a different role and work towards social justice and addressing that gap. And this is a great way to start your personal statement because it's going to naturally lead you to your social justice issue. So, that person who is talking about what she noticed on the ground as a social worker, can she connect that to the bigger picture and an overall social justice issue? Clearly, this is not an issue that just her clients were experiencing. This is a systemic issue that needs to be addressed. And when it comes to talking about the social justice issue in the personal statement, she can integrate research. She can pull in stats to show that there is a gap and that there is a need, and that like this is a big issue that needs to be addressed in a greater capacity. Okay, so far in your personal statement, you are discussing an insight from either your personal or professional experiences, connecting it to the big picture and a social justice issue, and then hopefully integrating some research in there to prove that there's a need. So the last thing you want to do is connect all of that to your goals as a social worker. So in my role as a social worker, I noticed that my clients were facing this issue. The research shows that this is a gap that needs to be addressed and is impacting people in the following ways. And as a social worker at the master's level, I hope to address that gap by doing X, Y, and Z. So this is what I mean when I say create cohesion in your personal statement. When you start with your insights, connect it to research and use that to underpin your goals as a social worker, you show that the admissions committee that there's a need for social workers in your area of interest, and therefore it is in their best interest to accept you to the program so that you can address that gap and contribute to the social work field in a meaningful way. When I edit MSW applications, I find that this is something that people really struggle with because they kind of go into answering the prompts in a really unplanned manner. And so they're kind of all over the place when they're answering all the different prompts. But by having a clear mission and goal, that's going to really help you anchor your personal statement and keep coming back to that concept as you're answering the different prompts. Now, if this is something that you are struggling with and you're not sure how to proceed, I do have a template that you can use to help you brainstorm and start forming connections for writing your personal statement. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments or reach out to me on Instagram or send me an email. Thanks.